I know that probably a million people talk about Eraserhead, but this was my first experience of David Lynch, and I was probably way too young to see it. Freaked me out. I couldn't quite wrap my head around what was going on, but to me it was one of the gateways into this whole world of art house film. Just having that idea of there are other things besides Hollywood movies, and the fact that movies don't always have to make you feel a certain way, like feel good. It can make you feel confused and also maybe a little bit sick too. So I'm going to take that one. It's got nostalgic value.
I like thinking about David Lynch before he was David Lynch, when he was just some dude in a warehouse or wherever the fuck he filmed this. Using all of his savings and essentially abandoning his family to make a movie that at the time, I can't imagine that too many people understood. Filmmaking is an act of faith, and I think it's like beautiful to imagine, someone like Lynch before he was the brand David Lynch, putting it all on the line to make something as insane as his first feature film, Eraserhead.
Ce que j'aime aussi énormément, c'est David Lynch et son pouvoir de l'image, tout jeune. Ça, c'est un de ses premiers films. Et on voit bien, il s'inspire du cinéma muet, de la poésie du cinéma muet. Et comme ça, avec une lumière fantasmagorique. Et moi, je m'inspire beaucoup de ça aussi. Et je crois que je me suis inspirée pour un plan d'Anatomie de l'enfer, totalement d'Eraserhead. Enfin bon, le cinéma, c'est aussi quelque chose qui vous fait rentrer dans une famille. C'est pas seulement se reconnaître, c'est aussi une familiarité avec ses propres rêves, son propre univers. Et la preuve, c'est les films qui résistent au temps.
Eraserhead. This is David Lynch's debut. But I remember watching this and getting to the end and being like, I have no idea what the fuck this film is about. But I love it. It's so bold. It's surreal. It's fantasy. You're in a dream state. It feels like you're probably on 5 different drugs at the same time. Like, I don't know what David Lynch was thinking about when he wrote it. I heard an interview with him that he doesn't even remember writing it. If your love of horror and you're looking for a new language, this is going to give you your new language.
Now, American filmmaking, of course, was not just Hollywood. And a film that I could relate to more in terms of my own filmmaking was David Lynch's film Eraserhead. Very American and saying some really interesting kind of sublime things about American culture and the American ethos and zeitgeist that you wouldn't see in a Hollywood film, but you also wouldn't see in a European film. This is a really special film that had a big impact on me. I can't say that it was an influence because I'd already been making films by this time, but it was significant for me. And I met David, and we got along very well. I went with him to Bob's Big Boy, where we would eat hamburgers for lunch, and we got along very well. And it's really, of course, it's a tragedy that he died so young. Eraserhead.
Next is Eraserhead, which I love. I love Eraserhead. It's my favorite Lynch. It was actually the only Lynch I'd ever seen for a very long time. So inspiring to me to this day. Was super inspiring for the last album that I put out. It left such a mark on me. And yeah, I don't know. I love Eraserhead, and hopefully someday I aspire to create something even as half as good as Eraserhead. Love you, Eraserhead, baby.
Here's David Lynch. We can't go any more time without talking about David. So David and I, we have a long collaboration together. Starting with Dune in '83, and then Blue Velvet, and then Twin Peaks. And he is a good friend, and I cherish that relationship. And then count myself incredibly lucky to have worked with him so frequently and collaborated with him. We have such a good time. It's not work at all. It's just playtime. But Elephant Man is just beautiful film, and I know that he felt a great affinity with that character, and John Hurt did an extraordinary job. And Anthony Hopkins, I worked with Anthony later on. We did a movie called The Trial together, and we spent 3 nights in Kutná Hora in Czechoslovakia, at that time Czechoslovakia, the Czech Republic, filming in this cold, cold church. And we would basically do impersonations of actors. So I would do my best, and then he would do, oh my God, Clark Gable was amazing, Clark Gable. And then we would do David Lynch together. So we'd be doing dueling Davids, because he worked on this one, and of course I knew David very well. So it was kind of like this. We were talking like this. And to hear Anthony Hopkins do a David Lynch, well, you haven't lived till you've heard that.
Oh, wow, Elephant Man. Again, I don't mean to sound like that I think film is all about acting, because I know it's not, but John Hurt in this movie, ooh, WTF. Like, how the hell did you do that? With all of that on his face. I mean, that's just literally like somebody's soul. Like when they say, every time you get your picture took, it takes some of your soul. Like, this is the proof.
This movie, The Elephant Man, by David Lynch, is the first and only time I ever saw my father cry. A movie about like what it means to be a human being, and it's heartbreaking and beautiful, and has tied to a very personal memory for me.
Now this one, Blue Velvet, was kind of a rebirth for me. Because we'd done Dune together in '83, and Dune didn't really turn out that well. In fact, I was kind of, after that, I felt like I was a pariah in the business. There was no work, no nothing. But David, bless his heart, he'd given me the script to Blue Velvet while we were filming Dune in Mexico City, and I read it, and I was like, whoa. This is very, very intense, and I really liked it, and I really identified with the character of Jeffrey. But David and I were planning to go shoot Blue Velvet right after Dune was released in '84, winter of '84. And because Dune didn't do so well, they postponed it, and so things happened, and then finally Blue Velvet came to pass in the summer of that year, in the summer of '85. We shot this in Wilmington, North Carolina, and we had such a lovely time. I mean, it was Dennis Hopper, Isabella Rossellini, Laura Dern, myself, Dean Stockwell, Brad Dourif. As traumatic as Dune was for him, and I know it was, Blue Velvet was a whole different reality. And we were in our element. And it was, and he came back to me. That's the point, I guess, is, we did Dune together, and he could easily have said, well, that, Kyle, he didn't really help the movie, and so I'm going to find somebody else. And he didn't do that. He wanted me, and I'll be forever grateful. Thanks, David. I actually have Blue Velvet, so I'm going to put this one back for someone else to find and experience and enjoy.
Then I'm taking Blue Velvet because I love just the look of Blue Velvet and David Lynch, and it's just something I like to watch on the weekend, and it's a good evening film.
This is the movie that I think, for better or worse, kind of really pushed me over the edge and made me go, I want to be an actor. Everything about it, this is kind of a perfect movie, actually. And I saw it recently again. I hadn't seen it in ages, and one of the things that surprised me about it, I've maybe only seen it a few times since I first saw it. One of the things that surprised me, but I thought, it actually has a real story to it. I'd never paid attention to the fact that it has this kind of very great, simple, kind of noir story to it. I'd never paid that much attention to the story because I get so caught up in all the wonderful detail and the wonderful acting in it. And it's got probably if you held a gun to my head and said, what's your favorite performance in any movie? I would say Dennis Hopper as Frank Booth in this movie. He achieves something just off the charts amazing. But I mean, everybody's great in it. Kyle MacLachlan's great in it. I keep talking a lot about the acting in movies, and, acting's not the only thing that floats a movie along, but this is like, I love this.
Blue Velvet, well-known film by David Lynch. It gave a picture into a world that sometimes was familiar from watching TV, seeing all white picket fences and a lot of America as, portrayed through the films of the 50s and the 60s. But then you had this kind of violence and a sexuality in it, which was really unusual, and not long after that I left Sheffield and went to film college. I studied film, fine art filmmaking, down in London at St Martin's, and I think I wrote an essay about this as part of the kind of entrance exam. It changed my view of films, and it also changed my life.
The Candy-Coated Sandman, Blue Velvet. This is one of my favorite movies. There's certain directors that they're the star of the movie, where you watch a movie and you're like, who's the dude that made this movie, or the lady? And this is one of those movies that when I saw it, I was like, who's that guy? And I have a crazy connection to this movie because I had a friend of mine when I lived in Los Angeles a long time ago. She had the ear in a jar on her desk. She worked at the Picture Factory, David Lynch's company in LA at the time. And I used to paint back then. And I sold them a painting that was in their office. It was a baby jumping through fire, and it was wrapped in all this wire and stuff. And I remember going into their studio and them playing me a track, an audio track that they were going to use in a movie. And it was really loud in the studio, and it was an army marching through the snow to speed metal. So it was like, and I was like, I love all of these people. So this is what, do I get to keep these?
I'm gonna take Blue Velvet, even though she wasn't on my list, because we love David Lynch.
What would I like to do next? Oh. This is very important to me. I mean, not only because we're honoring David Lynch these days, but my mother plays Kyle MacLachlan's mother in Blue Velvet. Mom's 100 years old now and still going strong. And she and I do this kind of film sessions at her assisted living facility, and Blue Velvet was one of them. So Mom and I will be watching this together again.
I wanted to pick a David Lynch as a tribute to David, who we sadly lost recently. I got to meet him at the Paramount 100th anniversary photograph, and he was so sweet and so nice and so normal, so not the guy that you thought would come up with stuff like Blue Velvet, which is an insanely disturbing movie. I showed this to my daughter the other day, and she hated it. But she hated it for exactly the reasons that David Lynch wanted you to hate it. This really, really unnerving exploration of middle America, the seedy underworld that exists just under the surface. What I love about Lynch is that he just leaves so much to you. You know, he throws stuff out there which is kind of indecipherable, but it's your job to decipher it. It's your job to apply your interpretations to what he's saying, and they're always there. And I was delighted that Tilly hated it, because she talked about it nonstop that night and then the next day. And I said, sometimes entertainment is an overrated function of art. Sometimes being made uncomfortable is the point. Sometimes being repulsed by something is the point, you know. And I think David Lynch knew that better than most. So I'm putting Blue Velvet in my bag.
Blue Velvet. This is Isabella Rossellini. She's been on my runway, the loveliest lady ever. And woo, is she, a wicked, wild, mysteriously strange woman in this movie. Just gorgeous. Frightening, but a different kind of frightening than Silence of the Lambs. This frightening I kind of like, because it's just so glamorous and beautifully visually done. You almost feel the blue velvet part of it. It's wonderful. I love it.
I'm taking Twin Peaks Fire Walk with me.
Oh my God, that's on Criterion?
Have we ever watched any Twin Peaks together?
No.
It's comedically pretty big for me.
All right, what else do we have over here? Let's see. David Lynch, I had found one of his here. And this is Twin Peaks, and because I'm, Johnny come lately, but I'm in the middle of watching the new Twin Peaks, all 18 episodes, which is even artier and more insane, and I'm just amazed how he ever got it past the studio that made it when they showed him the script. What? Huh? So I'm a big fan of David Lynch, and I was one of the first people that ever came out for Eraserhead when it first came out because I was promoting Female Trouble, and that's when we met. There's a good picture of David and I meeting in front of Bob's Big Boy when we were young. So I'm a big fan of David's, and I love this one. I love this one, especially what maybe everybody else didn't like quite as much, but to me, it's really a good one. I haven't seen it in a long time, so it's one that I can watch twice.
David Lynch, Fire Walk with Me, I think is his masterpiece. I know it was critically attacked when it came out, and my story about it is we actually got the Showcase Theater on La Brea in Los Angeles for The Living End because Fire Walk with Me was such a commercial disaster. It opened and closed in LA in a day or two, a week or whatever. So we got a better theater in LA because of the flop of Fire Walk with Me. But to me, just an amazing, perfect movie. I love it so much. And it has recently been critically resurrected, so thank God for that.
Okay, I've seen a lot of stuff, so I think now I'm gonna just close my eyes and see what the closet brings me. Twin Peaks, Fire Walk with Me. So that was excellent. My soul really knows what I need and want. I just don't know who doesn't love Twin Peaks. I think every iteration of it, the movies, the new show, the original, I love this man and I love this work. So this is really, I feel really lucky to have found this one actually, because I don't know if I would have seen it otherwise. And it's director approved. All right.
This is a really underrated movie, Lost Highway. It's got a lot of sort of 40s noir, femme fatale, sort of mythology in it. But it also has this crazy, metal soundtrack. And I really like the way David Lynch kind of counteracts his... and I wouldn't ever call his filmmaking nostalgic, but it's steeped in certain images of the past, but then he'll combine it with this really jarring modern thing. And it is like your craziest dream. It's funny, I just had a dream last night where I was walking down a road through the woods, and I realized that I'd been in a car with my mother, who actually died not long ago, and I couldn't... and I didn't know how I got out of the car, and I was like, I've got to call her, and I realized I didn't know her number. And as I was thinking after, I thought, David Lynch movie. And I was thinking about him this morning, about how well he captures that, the world of dreams, the complete disorientation of suddenly you're in one place and the other. And I think with Lost Highway, people minded the way it jumped around and people changed identity. But, that's the life that you have and I have every night in dreams when we can remember them.
Lost Highway. Now it's getting fun. I mean, all kind of strange, absurd movies, but David Lynch's Lost Highway, Patricia Arquette, who, when I saw True Romance for the first time, I was so blown away by what she did and how raw she was. Lost Highway is another movie that turned me on to David Lynch and where I ultimately saw The Elephant Man, which I think is close to, at least for me, the perfect film.
So I'm starting here with Lost Highway by David Lynch. Lynch, a very influential filmmaker. I love him.
Oh, this is, I think, because I come from a place where you don't really see films, and it's a very, very small place. It's called Sorvera, and it's nothing there, and I wasn't exposed to films and art until very late. But this, you can imagine, Mulholland Drive, David Lynch, when I was young, and I was in shock, and I saw it maybe 20 times, and I read all about it, and I read people have tried to understand it and actually going crazy trying to understand it. I just love him.
A questo punto potremmo andare a vedere se c'è qualcosa di Lynch. Guarda che meraviglia. Questo è uno dei miei film preferiti perché qui entriamo proprio dentro un tipo di cinema che va dritto all'inconscio, no? Quindi proprio sembra che metta in scena la lezione di Antonin Artaud, quindi un cinema fatto che punta ad arrivare all'esperienza, a far vivere l'esperienza al pubblico, un'esperienza emotiva, emozionale, non tanto legata a un racconto lineare, quindi arriva proprio all'emozione pura.
Oh, Mulholland Drive. I mean, David Lynch is really up there with one of my absolute favourites. I've seen this film about, I don't know, 10 times. The first time I saw it, I didn't really understand it. It made me really angry. And I thought, I've wasted my time watching this stupid film about nothing, which is embarrassing to say. But the second time I watched it, I sort of fell asleep midway through and woke up, and then I started to understand it. The third time I watched it, I really felt a sense of what it was about. And then the fourth time I saw it while I was in LA, and I thought, this is a documentary on LA.
Bon, alors évidemment, il y a mon film préféré. Ouais, parce que c'est le film que je continue à préférer du monde entier, de l'histoire entière. C'est Mulholland Drive. Alors, ce que j'aime beaucoup, mais c'est un peu général sur David Lynch, il y a ce côté rêve américain qui se transforme en cauchemar, quoi, et ça, j'adore.
Okay, well, I've got to take this one home. This is Mulholland Drive, and I know someone in this film. I remember seeing it when it came out here at it must have been a premiere in New York, because Justin Theroux is a very good friend of mine, and he said, come see my opening, and we did, and what a spectacular film it was, and a great performance by my future wife.
Okay, where do I find Mulholland Drive? Mulholland Drive. The sound design in this film is so singular and so eerie. Obviously, he was a master of sound. And this film, I guess, it speaks to me in so many ways. Obviously, the mystery of Hollywood, coming there as an actress, the great Naomi Watts, and like her kind of legacy of like this story of her struggling as an actress and her waiting to break through, and then the reflection of that in this film. And this was her breakout role, and how like her sort of innocence in that film, and also her vulnerability, and then like Naomi does tension so well, and horror and danger. This film is just, it's also so funny. The sequences in the diners, Mulholland Drive, brilliant.
Well, let's start with Inland Empire. I rewatched it recently after David Lynch died. I was looking forward to meet him one day. It's what he said about one of my films is my happiest moment in my film career. He had seen Dogtooth, and he said in an interview that he thought it was really funny. And I'm trying to find the actual clip of the LA Times and frame it. If anyone has that, please send it to me.
How about David Lean?
How about David Lynch, who made Inland Empire? Because I do have a story about that. We're very close with our friend Laura Dern, who, of course, famously has done so many David Lynch films, and she was doing this film, and he needed someone for a scene, and she goes, let me call Mary. So she calls me and says, can you come do a part in this David Lynch movie? I just said, sure. I didn't ask what it was. I didn't see the script. I don't know if I ever saw the script. So I drive out into the middle of nowhere, and it was at a crack house, and it was
active.
Yeah, active. And it was this crazy place. And David, had the camera, and I had done a photo shoot that morning for something, and he goes, you can't look like that. You gotta look worse. And I said, should I just go in, take all my makeup off? And he goes, no, let me do it. And he gets down on the ground, picks up dirt, and starts rubbing it all over my face. And I just was like laughing. And at one point I looked in a mirror, and he like messed up my hair. I had a name like The Visitor. I was The Visitor. And that was how I ended up in Inland Empire.